May. And today we're gonna do some more real talk. So this is a video I wanted to do like a week ago. And I just couldn't figure out how to do it in the time constraint that I had. I just had too much going on. I had, stuff that I needed to do around the house, and I had homework and preparing for the rest of the week, and I had church. I was doing worship team, so it got to be too much last week, so I didn't get the time that I wanted to do this video. But I really still wanted to do this video because it means a lot to me, and I know that a lot of people struggle with it, so I wanted to talk about it. So a week ago I got a comment on one of my videos that this person reached out to me very openly, and she was going through a really rough time. She had just been through a really hard breakup, and she's feeling really defeated, and I think we've all, I guess I can't say we've all been through that, but those of us that haven't yet will probably go through it in the future at some point. And I know that when you're from the outside looking in, sometimes we see more of a bigger picture. When other people go through breakups, we'll see before they do that the relationship is not going well, and it's probably not gonna end well. But when you're going through it yourself, it's really hard to see that, the bigger picture, because you're living it, so you're seeing everything as it's happening. You're not necessarily seeing, I don't know. And also there's a lot of emotions going on, and you're emotionally tied to the situation. You really care about the person that you're seeing, and hormones and all the fun stuff that's tied into relationships. So yeah, I got the comment, and I read it, and I immediately my heart broke for this girl, because boy, have I been there. And more than just once, but especially with my last relationship, it was one of those breakups where I didn't see it coming until the day that he broke things off, because then I started to kind of pick up on, like, he was leaving subtle notes that he was wanting to end things, and up until that point I was like, everything seemed fine. We'd been together for so long, and we had been planning our life together, and working really hard on the relationship and building it up, and I thought things were great, and then it just kind of like fell apart around me all at once. And you know, now, which is what today's video is going to be about, which I apologize for the super long intro, but you know, now I see it wasn't necessarily like back then, like, I was so angry and upset and confused with him. I didn't understand. I was like, I don't understand. You're throwing this all away. Everything was so good. Why are you doing this? What did I do wrong? I did everything I could. And now I see that it wasn't anything necessarily that I did. It wasn't necessarily anything that he did or didn't do. Sometimes that's just the case. Sometimes it's not about something that happened or something that you did or didn't do. You make decisions in a relationship, and sometimes you'll look back and you'll be like, man, I really wish I wouldn't have made that decision. But at the same time, if you wouldn't have made that decision, you may still be with that person and you wouldn't be able to see the bigger picture, which is that it probably wasn't meant to work out in the first place. So, today I wanted to do a tingly, soft-spoken / whispers video on some of the stuff that I learned. From my really, really, really bad breakup. You know, some of the stuff that I learned from this last breakup that really helped me to, I guess, have a better grasp of who I am. And it's definitely helped me to, you know, when I look for people to date now, I have a better idea of exactly what I'm looking for and why I'm looking for those things, and why some things are very important when you're in a relationship, when you're starting to get into a relationship, you know, in love, period. Whether it be in your friendship relationships, your relationships with your family members. I think that one of the biggest things from the breakup that helped me was really just beginning to fully understand the concept of love and what love truly is. It's not, I feel like we grow up with this idea of love that the media tells us is real and true, and this is the way it should be, and the way that movies tell us and TV shows, and even though the things that our family, that our parents will tell us when we're growing up, like the way that things should be, versus what love really is, what it really takes to love somebody, and coming to terms with that, you know, really learning what it was. It was one of the big things that, anyways, so I'm just totally getting ahead of myself. So yeah, that's gonna be today's video. Alright, so before we get into the heavy breakup stuff, I first wanted to talk to you guys about some of the stuff that I learned from the relationship itself. person was truly special, still is truly special and wonderful, and I could say so many good things about him, and I'm so truly immensely blessed that I got to be in the relationship and got to go through everything that I did go through with him, and so I learned a lot. And I also grew a lot, and so one of the most important things that I learned from the relationship is that communication. And I know you'll hear this a lot. You'll hear it so much, especially if you're just getting into a relationship, or you're, in a relationship and you ask people for advice, and I swear to you, it's very true that communication is probably the most important aspect of any relationship, whether it be romantic, whether it be with someone in your family or your friends. If you're not communicating with that person, they can't read your mind. And you can't read theirs. And one of the biggest problems that this person and I had was communication. Neither one of us communicated very well. We, for some reason, got in this headspace where if we told each other what, we thought that if we told each other what we really thought about anything, then that person would not accept it or something. I don't know. And I know that other people, go through that, where they try so hard to put on this good face and be the best person that they can be in the relationship, so that that person doesn't ever have a reason to leave. But my relationship ended, I learned pretty much that if you don't communicate the relationship, the relationship is pretty much bound to end anyway, so you might as well just be open with the person that you truly care about and want to be with up front, because if you're not, then no, the last two things that I put down that were really some of the most important things I learned in the relationship, they're more things that I really deeply learned. A, because this person was such an incredible person and he taught me these things, and B, because I didn't really have any self-esteem in the relationship to begin with, and he helped me to have one. Love, 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 love is not just an experience, and it's not just something that you feel or that you say. It's a choice. And I feel like a lot of times we miss that, because we get so caught up in the way that we think love should be, the way that we think relationships should be, the way that we think things should move, or how fast they should move, how slow they should move, what you do on this date and this date, and we get so caught up in our perceptions of what we think love is supposed to look like, and the reality is that love doesn't really look like any of that. It looks like something different for all of us, and at its very core, it looks like the choices that we make, that we choose to make, we really don't want to make those choices. It looks like the really tough decisions that we make when we're tired and we don't feel like giving, but we do it anyways because we love that person and we want to give to that person and we want to be with that person. Now, this doesn't mean you sacrifice everything in a relationship. It doesn't mean that you give up all of yourself. It just means that love is a choice. Just as much so as it is an experience and a feeling and something that you say to somebody. It has so much more meaning, I think, than we can comprehend sometimes. And also I want to add that love and infatuation are not, no, they are not the same thing. I feel like that's also a very common misconception. It's something that I even, have struggled to comprehend, because a lot of times I feel like the media and TV shows and movies and whatnot, they tell us that infatuation is love. That when you're infatuated with somebody, when you have this deep, undeniable, unexplainable connection with somebody, and you just feel in your bones that it's right. Sorry, my mic. It's a little loose. You just feel that it's right. That means that you're in love with that person. That means that that love is true and real. And let's be real. If you've ever really been in love with somebody, it goes beyond just the feelings, because you struggle with that person. You go through things with that person. You're there for them through their hard times. You see them at their lowest and at their highest, and it goes both ways. And when you go through that much with somebody, that person puts up with all of you, and you put up with all of them, and the choices that you make to love each other, to show love, to be love, there's so much more. So much more important than the feelings, the ooey gooey, wonderful, heart racing, butterflies in your stomach, instant connection that you might feel with somebody. Or at least that's something that I came to feel throughout this last relationship. And this final one that I learned was really more it's really more about me, in the sense that before this relationship I didn't have much self-direction. I didn't have much self-esteem. I didn't really know. I had lost sight of who I was and where I wanted to go with my life. And so throughout this relationship, I let this person's goals and aspirations in life become the life and goals and aspirations that I wanted. And in some ways that kind of woke me up, and in other ways he himself kind of woke me up, because he made sure to reassure me and let me know that I was worth something, past, what you're doing, no matter where you're at, what you've been through, what's been done to you, no matter what, you are capable of being loved, and you deserve to be loved. It doesn't matter, none of that. You can give me all these excuses as to why you're so bruised and broken, and there's no reason why anybody on this planet could ever love you or should ever love you. But the reality is that there are people that love you. And even if you're somebody who doesn't have very many people in your life, and you maybe feel so alone, you don't feel like anybody could ever love you, I promise you, there is somebody out there. I promise you, there's somebody out there who is capable of loving you, who is more than capable of loving you, and actually wants to love you. They're just waiting to meet you. It's so interesting because I swear to you, before this relationship, I was so, I didn't understand how anybody could love me. I'm not your ideal girl, or that's what I thought, and I had spent many years being bullied for one reason or another. I have spent many years overweight for lots of reasons from my past that I am not going to get into. And my parents had just been divorced. My life had changed so much, and I just didn't feel like it was possible. I had given up on love. And I think that he helped me. He reminded me that no matter what, nobody's too far gone to be loved. I promise. Nobody's too far gone. Nobody can nobody's past, nobody's present, nobody's problems, their sins, nothing can outweigh your ability to be loved or your ability to love others. Again, love is it's a choice just as much as it is a feeling and experience. So, yeah, say it with me. I am capable of being loved. You are, I promise. So, now on to the heavy stuff. Because this relationship meant so much to me. Obviously, the breakup was really hard. And I will be very upfront with you that I didn't handle it at all in the way that I probably should have. No, I didn't. And I didn't know that I was handling it badly. I wasn't trying to handle it badly. I was trying to do the best that I could. But it was from this experience that I really learned that I had problems, like deeply rooted problems from my past, and the way that I handled letting go of things was not the best. So my number one thing that I learned from this relationship, or from the breakup itself, was that you can't bury the pain. No matter how hard you try, no matter how long you run from it, how deep you bury it, how many walls you put up, you can try and you can try, you can try. But I promise you that eventually the pain does come back. And when it does, it makes even less sense why you're feeling it, because you're like, what the hell, man? I felt this years ago, I went through this years ago. Why am I feeling this pain now? This doesn't even affect me anymore, So my number one was, you can't bury the pain, you have to feel it in order to get rid of it. And it sucks. When the breakup first happened, I think I felt it more than I have with my past breakups. And it took me a little bit longer than it did with my last breakups, my past breakups. Because of all the confusion, and there was so much that I just didn't see, and that I was so confused and hurt by. So I kind of held on to it for a little bit longer than I should have. But then again, I guess I can't say that. Anyways, I held on to it longer than I had in the past, and then I slowly but surely put up my walls, and I buried it in the back of my head, and I kind of just went on with my life. That's kind of always been my approach when bad things happen. My approach was, do whatever you gotta do to get through it, and then just keep moving forward as fast as you can. Don't look back. Don't deal with the pain. Don't worry about it. It's not happening anymore. Just go forward. And so I did that. And then 6, 7, 8 months in, I was good. I didn't think about him ever. I didn't think about the relationship. I stopped talking to him. I had given up that part of my life and was focusing on the next chapter. And he kind of came back into the picture for a second, like a hot second. It was not even that long. He just kind of was trying to, get in touch with me and apologize, and and it was right at the end of the semester, so it was like adding that on top of everything, all the stress of finals and whatnot. But anyways, so all the questions, all the pain, everything just right back. And there was no wall tall enough that I could build to put it all back. I realized that I had to start dealing with it. I had to deal with the pain. I had to feel it. I had to cry about it and get angry about it and frustrated and confused and overthink it and process it. I had to process it, which is it's one of the toughest emotional things that you'll go through. It's like a roller coaster, and some days you go up and down so much, and other days you're kind of like, you just flatline, you sit still throughout the day, your mood stays the same throughout the day, and you're kind of just like doing whatever you gotta do not to think about it or not to deal with it, but you gotta deal with it. And my advice would be to deal with it after it happens, not to run from it or to bury it, because it does come up later, and I almost feel like when it does come up later, it's harder to deal with because you've got new problems in your life, you've got a new set of situations, and maybe a new person, maybe, it's just, you've got, it's just more difficult. It just adds unnecessary stress, especially when that person hasn't been in your life for a long time, and there's no logical reason to even be dealing with it, but you are, because you didn't deal with it in the beginning, in the first place. So yeah, don't bury the pain. Don't follow my example. Deal with it. Feel it. Let it in. Accept it. Process it. Do whatever you gotta do. Get angry. Get upset. Cry. Tell people. Tell everybody about it until they're so annoyed that they don't even want to talk to you. Just do what you gotta do. Because when you finally deal with it, it does start to have less power over you, and it does, it doesn't go away, but you're able to have a better perspective of the situation and look at it differently, and it doesn't have as much power over the way that you think about it or the way that you feel when you think about it. So yeah, number 2 kind of goes along with number 1 in the sense that dealing with that pain, and anger and upset, it can also come with a lot of feelings of blame towards yourself, blame towards maybe your family members who saw things but didn't say anything, or didn't see, and most importantly usually is blame towards that person, the person that hurt you. And sometimes even shame, feeling shame for yourself, feeling that you should have seen it earlier. Why didn't you see it earlier? Why couldn't you have been the one that was strong enough to see it and leave? And why did you let yourself do all this stuff and put so much time and energy into the relationship when it wasn't gonna last? And going through all of the processing stages, and the reality is that processing the pain and dealing with it, that's great, but things like blame and shame, they need to be temporary things that you feel and process when you're going through the whole dealing with your emotions, because they have a tendency to be two things that can be negative. They can keep you holding on to the pain and the anger and the confusion and, all of the negative bad stuff, instead of processing all of that stuff and letting it go and trying to see, oh, maybe this didn't happen really this way. Maybe, there was more. I guess the point is just that when you're spending too much time blaming yourself or blaming the other person or blaming other people in your life, and you're spending that much time shaming yourself, shaming that person, shaming other people in your life, it's not good for you. It's understandable. Completely, it's understandable when you're processing your emotions and that pain, but don't let it be something that you hold on to or that keeps you holding on to all the pain that you're feeling, because obviously the goal when you are getting over somebody is to get over the pain, is to process it and deal with it and eventually let it go. So yeah, don't hold on to the blame and the shame too much if you can. 3 also goes along with number 2 and number 1. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I know that your head's gonna try and convince you that you did so many things wrong, or that they did so many things wrong, or that the whole relationship was a mistake and it never should have happened. Definitely one of the biggest things that I dealt with in my breakup was shame. I just felt so much shame, guys. I felt so much shame because of the way that I handled myself and the way that I thought of myself before him, how I had no self-esteem, and I was ashamed of the things that I allowed myself to do with him, even though there was no reason to be ashamed of any of it. It's not like we didn't do anything wrong by being together, by trying to build a relationship together. We were doing the best that we could. we were throwing caution to the wind and trying to make a relationship work, and that's what, relationships can be sometimes. Hi, baby. So, I don't know about you, but I dealt with a lot of shame, and it wasn't until I came to terms with the fact that there was nothing to be ashamed of, and that I didn't have to look back at everything with regret. It wasn't until I let that shame go that I was really able to process my feelings and move on. So, again, don't hold on to shame. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You were just doing the best that you could. Hey, baby, it's okay. You were just doing the best that you could, and I'm sure that person, regardless of the mistakes that you both made, I'm sure that person was just doing the best that he could at the time, or she could at the time, and things just happen. They happen the way that they do. And sometimes there's no good explanation for it. That's the way it was meant to work out. So, and number 4, finally. Don't ever. Well, I guess I can't say ever. perfectly natural to lose faith in love when you're in pain, you're broken, you're processing a breakup, especially a big one. But my biggest prayer for anybody who's dealing with a breakup is that they won't lose complete faith in love, because it is all around us. Regardless of where you are, what you've done, what your life looks like, there are people that love you. And I don't know about you, but I can, just walk outside and just see love and feel love, and in the tiny beautiful things that happen throughout the day. And animals, God, I love animals, but you can see and feel love from animals, even just squirrels that you see outside, or birds, or this world. Contrary to popular belief, and this may just be my belief, but we were meant to love and to be loved and to seek love. And I think that once you accept that love's not always going to be perfect, and that there's no shame in truly loving somebody, even if things don't work out. Once you get past that, you can really see that love does exist. It always has, and it always will, and it's always going to be there for you when you need it, regardless of what it looks like, what form it's in. It's there. I believe it. And I just pray that you guys will hold on to that, no matter what you're going through. See? Zoe wants to say she loves you too. I know. So yeah, guys, that's my video. And I'm sorry if it's kind of all over the place, and I'm no love expert, so some of my advice, you can heed it at your own, at your own will, at your own, I don't know. It's late. It's like 2 a.m. I'm tired. But I love you guys very much, and I care about you so much. And no matter what you're going through, I hope you know that I care so much, and I will help if I can. So if you ever going through anything, if you ever want a video to help you get through anything, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video, and I'll be praying for you guys always.